on, guys? And in this video we're going to be going over, in my opinion, the hardest gods to master in Smite. Now I want to start off by saying this is not the hardest gods to play. This isn't the hardest gods to, I don't know, it's just the hardest gods to master. These gods aren't necessarily gods that, if you're new to Smite or you haven't played them, you can't successfully play them in game. It's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you want to master them to their true potential and be really good and just dominate with them, you're gonna have to practice a lot. And the first one we're gonna start off with is not number 5. This is an honorable mention. I had 6 on the list, and I wanted to throw Cullen in here just because. So we have an honorable mention. Now, the reason he's on here isn't because his abilities are hard. His abilities are really self-explanatory. I'll bring up the list here. He has a line attack. It's going to do damage to things, you know, in its path. It's going to do a little bit of anti-heal. He has an AoE attack that's going to do a little bit of damage. He has a leap, and he has an area ult. Everything's pretty self-explanatory. The thing that makes him relatively hard to master is his mana, or non-existent mana. As you can see here, there's no blue bar under his health. It's orange, and that's because he has a very, very, very unique resource to him that no one else has, and that's rage. He doesn't have mana, he has rage, and that's what makes him hard, is you have to manage his rage wisely, because his ultimate, you don't get, or not his ultimate, but part of his passive, you don't get to control it. And I'll show you real quick. If you don't know what it is, it's whenever you get to 85 rage. You can see I'm at 70 right now. Whenever you get to 85, I'll show you. You go into your big guy form, which is what makes Cullen so good, and it's this. But you're not in it for a long time. You can see the damage that you output. I mean, I'm just level 5 right now. Obviously, I'm full build with a bunch of attack speed items, but like, this guy means business. But the problem is you have to manage it wisely, and that's what takes time and practice to understand what you can do in a lane, what you can't do, when you can hit minions, when you can't hit minions. You're like, what are you talking about? Well, here's what I'm going to show you. His abilities consume rage, but you get rage back. So for instance, if I used Barb Spear, it cost 9 rage. But if I hit a god with it, I get 8 rage back. If I hit a minion with it, I get 5 rage back. So for every minion I'll hit, I'll get 5 rage. For every god I hit, I'll get 8 rage. So if I hit 2 gods, I would get 16 rage back. And you get to a max of 18 rage back for your 1. Your 3 cost 9 rage again. Same thing, restores 5 for minions and 8 for a god. Your 2, however, costs 16 rage, so it is more expensive, and it does not restore whatsoever. So that's part of the thing. You have to use your 2 smartly, because it doesn't restore rage, unlike the other abilities. In your ultimate, whenever you hitting an enemy minion with this ability restores 10 rage and 16 for a god, so it's just doubled when you're in your ultimate. But for example, let's say, you know, I have 80 rage, you know, and I really want to transform. I'm like, okay, it's time, I'm gonna transform, and I hit my 2. Well, now I don't have 80 rage. I have nowhere close to what I need in order to use my ult, and I'm SOL. Now let's go back. I'm gonna just go ahead and attack Odin real quick until I get up to 85 to kind of explain a little more. Knowing when to actually use your abilities to get rid of rage, because that's a key component too. Let's say I'm in lane, right, and I'm in solo lane, and I'm going against an Osiris, and he's just bullying me, and I'm forced under my tower right now, and I have like 80 rage, and I don't want to use my ult. He sees, you can see Cullen right now. You see his shoulders kind of swelling up. They're juicing up. That's when you know he's about to turn. You're getting ready for it. And the enemy is going to know that. So he's going to want you to waste it. He's going to try to bait it out. He's going to try to make you transform and then run away so you waste it completely. Well, if I'm sitting here and I got 80 mana, you know, and I'm like, wow, or 80 rage, sorry, and I don't want to transform right now, I could just, you know, run back here and pop my 2 if I really want to reduce my rage so I'm not close to breaking the threshold. And that's just what it takes. It takes practice, and it takes, not necessarily practice, because you see me explaining this, and it's like, well, Sinister, that's self-explanatory. But when you're in game, it's different. You can see here what I mean about getting rage. Usually my 1 would just consume it, but when I hit this entire wave, boom, I jump up to 68. Now if I hit it with this, I jump up to 74. Now, you know, I'm close. I'm at 77, and I'll show you what I mean right here. Once I get to 85, Let's say I'm about to hit 85 and I don't want to transform. We're in wave. Go in here. Like, oh yeah, we're about to. I'm like, no, I don't want to transform yet. I can go ahead and pop my 2. It brought me from about 89 down to 73, and it saved me from transforming. That's the practice it takes. It's not extremely hard, but that's why he's an honorable mention, because it's the aspect that he doesn't have mana. It's so unique to him that it just takes a little bit to get used to, and to truly master him, you need a little practice. Now we're going to actually really get into it and go on to number 5. Number 5 is Agni. Now this one you might be scratching your head a little bit because, in my opinion, I think Agni is one of the gods that beginners should start off with. And really the main reason is because of his ult. You can't mess up his ult because it's free and you get it back like every, what is it, like 17 seconds or something like that? Yeah, every 18 seconds he gains another one, and you can have 3 of them. So if you're sitting there and you're under tower and you're afraid they might gank, whatever it is, and you want to get rid of the wave real quick, clear the wave, and in 16 more seconds you're going to get another ultimate. So that's kind of why he's a god that you might want to start off with. But like I said, this isn't a list of gods that are hard to play. It's a list of gods that are hard to master. And Agni is relatively hard to master, and that's because he has so many different combinations in his kit. If you don't know what Agni is, his abilities are right here. His first one is Noxious Fumes. It's a little AoE. His second one is Flame Wave. It's a line that's usually your main clear. His third is a dash called Path of Flames that also does burning tick damage, and his ultimate we just showed you. Well, the reason he's a little harder to master is the different combinations he has. And what I mean by that is he can stun you out in many different ways, and it all is revolved around his Noxious Fumes right here. You see when I place it, it just does tick damage to Odin. But if I am to combo it with Flame Wave, it stuns him out. And you can combo Flame Wave with your 2, or sorry, you can combo Noxious Fumes with your 2, with your 3, and with your ult. So you can stun him in 3 different combinations. You want to place Noxious Fumes and dash through, you can stun him. Going back, you know what, I'm not going to go back there and reset it. I'm just going to talk while we're on cooldown. But there's also different combinations. Like you can combo 3 or all 4 together. You can even do your ultimate. That'll stun them out in there. So, and you're sitting here thinking, well, that's not that hard. It's pretty easy. Throw out Noxious Fumes, throw out your Flame Wave, stun them out. Yeah, that's relatively easy, and it's a good way to play Agni, and it's a good way to, you know, do good. If you're playing and you're new and you get a Flame Wave down, combo, you're like, yeah, stun him out. Good job. But if you want to master Agni and use him to his full ability, you gotta really combo everything together. I'm not really good with Agni. I can't do it fast and all that, but a good thing to do, a lot of people do, is when they changed Agni, I think it was sometime last season, like season 3, maybe the end of it, or even the beginning of season 4, they made it so you can Flame Wave and put out your Noxious Fumes at the very end to get it going. So basically, if you do that and put the fumes out at the last second, you can still stun them. Before that, you would have to place you would have to place your Noxious Fumes down and then follow it up with Flame Wave to get the stun. The change allows you to cast Flame Wave first and then place Noxious Fumes at the end to still get the stun. It allows you to get more bursty damage off. The problem with that is you have to be very quick timing to get it off, because you literally have no window to mess up. You have to get it in the exact time. You can also do a little thing where you place it down, dash through, ult them, throw them out like that. You could place your 1, hit your ult, dash through, 2 them, and then ult them twice. I mean, there are almost unlimited amount of combinations you can do with Agni. The 1-2, the 2-1, the 1-3, the 1-4, the 1-4-3-2, the 1-4-4-3. Like, there's literally unlimited. You can just do whatever you want. You can have fun with Agni, combo whatever you want together. Obviously, you can't do those two. It has to be Noxious Fumes involved in some way, shape, or form. And I like it because Noxious Fumes is kind of one of the forgotten abilities in Smite. Everyone just upgrades it last. It's like Noxious Fumes. It's just pointless. But the reason it's pointless is because chaining everything together, comboing everything, stunning out, to master it, it's difficult. It's just what it is. On to number 4. Number 4 is Allure. Now, some people might think he should be higher. Some people might think he should even be number 1. Some people might think he shouldn't be on this list at all after the recent changes he got. Again, with that statement, I would like to reiterate this isn't the hardest gods to play. After Ullure's change, he isn't hard to play anymore. In fact, I would say he's relatively easy to play. That doesn't change the fact, though, that to master Allure requires a lot of practice. There's a reason when you see a diamond Allure on the other team, your heart drops for a second, because you know they've put a lot of time into him, you know they're going to hit their axes, you know they're going to hit their 1-3-1 combos, you know they're going to hit everything. Now, for those of you who don't know Allure, and if you don't, well, I don't know if you even know Smite, he is a stance changer, so he has no ultimate. His ultimate is just switching between stances. So he really has 6 abilities, which just makes him a little bit tougher as is. So when he's in his bow form, he has a lane clear. He has a buff that's going to give him some physical power. He has a little AoE target, but the good thing about this AoE target is it is long. You can see that 70 units is usually the max. No, not with Rain of Arrows. Rain of Arrows, you can just snipe somebody from very, very, very far away. And then his ultimate is just switching stances. But whenever you do upgrade your ult, in bow stance you get attack speed, and axe stance you get lifesteal. Whenever you switch to axe stance, year 1, instead of being lane clear now, is going to stun a target. So whenever you throw the axe, hit someone, it'll stun them. Prior to them changing Allure, the reason I think he would have been a little bit higher on this list before is, well, 1, Ullure's mana cost more before. Allure couldn't see his cooldowns when they were going to pop up, and Ullure's axe came out a lot slower. You can see how fast his axe comes out. I mean, he just whips it in his instant. Before, it was almost slow-mo. You could almost curve the axe. You could start to throw it right here, but by the time you turned around, you wouldn't release it till right here. So you could initiate it, switch, and stun him and do a complete 360 almost, because there was that like 0.6 second delay before the axe would actually get thrown. And it was just a little more harder to hit. Some people thought it was easier because they were used to it. Some people thought it was harder. And the reason Allure is number 4, he's not hard to play. I mean, relatively easy. At level 1, you have 2 abilities. You have your stun, you have your lane clear. You got a really long snipe, you got a buff. Not the hardest god to play, but to master, you gotta hit the combos. The deadly Allure combo, obviously, I'm gonna do it in slow motion first for the people who don't understand. So you're sitting here, you know, they're coming, you're gonna wanna stun them. And then after you stun them, quickly switch to bow stance. And then right after you see him switch, you'll see the little his little passive meter. Once it lights up and it's full, you know that's when you're good. As soon as you switch after you stun, you're gonna want a volley of arrow and kind of get the mouse cursor over. I recommend having your ground target activated for this. I mean, I recommend having it activated in general, but for Allure it really helps, especially with the arrows. So as soon as you do that, you're gonna want to get the arrows ready, pop them down, and then right after that, hit him with your 1. I recommend having your 1 on instacast because it's a little bit easier. But the full combo is stun, arrows, lane clear, and then after that, you're just basic attacking them and stuff like that. They're going to be either dead or really low, and if they happen to get away, you got to jump just to catch them down. And if they still happen to be faster than you, well, you got a movement speed buff as well. So Allure's pretty self-explanatory, the reason he's on this list. Yes, he's not hard to play anymore, but you still gotta hit the combo. The combo's still hard to master, and I know people are like, what are you talking about? Allure's easy now. Allure, I can master Allure, I can hit every combo. That's good for you. It doesn't change the fact that he's still hard to master. People just getting into Smite, they're gonna try to play him and do the combo, are gonna have a hard time. Allure's number 4. And number 3 is Serket. Serket, I would say, is pretty self-explanatory. She's just a... I think Serket's a hard god to play. I like Serket, and I've played Serket for a while. I would say I'm fairly good with her, but she's still hard to play. Not because her kit's confusing, but because their abilities are just generally harder to hit than a lot of other gods, and you have to combo everything together. Not combo like you would in Allure or something like that, but combo... You have to combo in order to play Serket. You can't just use one ability and then be like, oh, okay, I did some damage. No, you can't. You have to combo everything. And I'll explain that going through her abilities first. Her 1 is a dash, but it can apply crit. That's another thing that makes her really unique and a little more difficult, because if you want to play Serket correctly, you almost have to incorporate crit into your build, and it's not a common thing to have crit proc on abilities. But you can also control her dash. So if I want to dash long ways, you know, I can do it out there. But, you know, if I'm face to face with Loki or something, I can, you know, shorten that to dash between them really quick 3 times. So that is something that's a little bit difficult to, you know, be able to time and adjust wherever you want to dash. Her second ability is, it's pretty short. I'll show you right here. Oh, well, it's on Instacast. I'll show you after I take it off Instacast. In fact, let's just take this off Instacast while we're at it. Her 2, pretty short. It's only about, what, 35, 40 meters, something like that. And what makes this one a little more difficult is it's kind of hard to see the poison she throws out. It's just little balls of, like, glowingness. So I will say in her Kuno Ishi skin, I think that's what it is. I don't know. It's kind of a ninja skin. She throws out throwing stars, and you can see them predominantly. And I think it's a skin that if you're playing Serket, you would want to use that skin because I think it gives you an advantage. You're able to see the stars a lot better, and it just helps with being able to hit. Her third ability is kind of 2-in-1. It's a stealth and a leap. Basically, you go down in stealth, and you can stay here forever. Literally, you can stay here for 17 hours if you want to. Obviously, a game's not going to last that long, but you can. Now, if someone gets within 12 units of you, you become visible. So, obviously, you have to use it a little bit smartly. But if they do see you, you can just jump away. So, it's used as a stealth and a jump. Her ultimate is a little bit tricky and frustrating. It's a leap, but it's a really, really short leap, and it does true damage. It just does damage, negates protections and all that, and it reduces healing by 100%. And it looks something like this. You can see you can't, you know, go anywhere. You have to just be right in front of the person, essentially. Jump on them and throw them wherever you want. Now, you see that little tick on Odin right there that's about to vanish right now? That's the poison. Her whole entire kit is poison. Her 1 applies poison, her 2 applies poison, and her ultimate applies poison. The only thing that doesn't is her 3. Now, when I said you have to combo everything together, you have to combo every ability to get the poisons to proc, and then basic attack them to even get any benefit from it. So basically what that is you look at her passive right here. Serket's basic attacks apply Catalyst, which consumes her lingering poisons. If the target's affected by 2 or 3 poisons, they take additional damage. So basically what that means is if you want to even make Serket really viable, you pretty much have to be able to hit the 2 to apply some poison, hit the 3 to apply some more poison. So right now you got 2 poisons proc to it. Now if I basic attack them, it's going to deal damage. Ultimately, the goal would be to get the 2, 1, 4, and then basic attack. So it'll look a little something like this, and you could even jump on them if you want to make it, you know. Throw it out, dash between them, hit a basic. So now I have 3 poisons proc to them. That's really it. Serket, you look at it and you're like, well, that can't be that hard. It's not hard to... It actually is kind of hard to play her, but you can't actually play Serket even viable if you're not hitting the poison. Like, if you're not getting poisons to hit and you're not following up with basic attacks. You have to follow up with the basic attacks, and that can be tricky to do because if you hit your 2-1 combo, they know they're going to be hurting, so they're going to be running. You got to catch up to them, hit the basics, and ultimately it's best to always try to have 2 poisons on there. You do extra damage with 1, but it's just not a lot. I mean, or actually you don't deal extra damage, you just deal basic damage from the basic attack, so you got to really have minimum of 2 poisons applied to even make Serket. But if you don't have your ultimate up at all times, which obviously you don't, that just means you have to hit both of your damaging abilities. You have to hit your 2, and you have to hit your 1, and then you have to hit a basic attack to follow it up. That's why Serket's number 3, because she relies way too much on confirmed hits. If you, I mean, that sounds stupid. Obviously, every god relies on confirmed hits, but it's not something like a... Let me try to think of a god. It's not a god like, you know, Loki, where if you go invisible and you miss your bleed, it's like, ah, well, let me just run back. It's not like that. You have to confirm it. You have to get multiple poisons to proc, and then you have to get the basic to even get poison to work. Not only that, your ultimate you can end up hitting minions with and miss gods completely and end up poisoning minions. The minion will explode and deal poison damage, but it's not nearly the same as if you were to hit a god. So it just makes her really tricky, not only to play, but to master is one of the more difficult gods in Smite. But we have 2 more to go, and we're on to number 2. And number 2 is Susano. Now, Susano isn't really a hard god to play. In fact, I wouldn't say he's easy, but he's definitely not a hard god to play. He is relatively safe because he has a lot of mobility and stuff like that. But to master Susano is pretty difficult, and I say that because if you want to now, you can master Susano in a lot of different ways. You can master him by just being able to hit everything, being able to use your ultimate correctly and smartly, being able to know when to cancel it to use the knock-up effect, or when to hold it all the way so you could do extra damage. But if you want to truly master Susano, you have to master auto attack cancellations. And that, to me, is just the hardest thing for people to grasp in Smite. I'm still not the best at it. Getting better with Susano, but auto attack cancellation in general is not one of my strong suits. I do play support, so I don't really have to do that. But it's just a hard thing to grasp around. And if you don't know what that means, basically a player who is just starting Susano would go into a game and use their one like this. Boom, boom, boom. Right? It dealt, decent damage as it was supposed to do. But when you auto attack cancel, actually, I'm not going to take off Instacast. That's another thing. In order to auto-attack cancel in general, but specifically with Susano, you really have to be running Instacast. So a lot of people run normal cast, especially when they're just playing, because obviously normal casting allows you to see your ability. And what I mean by that is normal casting Jetstream would look like this. It's up. I know where it's going to go. I haven't used it yet. But if I take normal casting off and have it on instant, it just throws out immediately. You don't get to time it, but it's better to use abilities quickly, especially when auto attack cancellation, which is used through one. So basically what an auto attack cancellation would be is instead of hitting 1, 1, 1 and dealing damage, you'd be 1, basic, 1, basic, 1 again. So you use your 1, you want to cancel it with a right click, get a basic or 2 in, and then use your 1 again before it runs out. Right click, get another basic or 2 in, use your 1 before it runs out. You can even auto attack in with your 2, use it like that, basic, and then use that. Obviously, it's hard. It's not only hard to master, auto attack cancellation is just hard to do. When you're practicing on Odin bots and in jungle practice, you're like, oh, this is easy, I got the hang of it. But when you jump into a game, everything's real speed. You don't have time to just look at your abilities, see what's on cooldown. You gotta pay attention to the game. Hitting that auto attack can be really hard, especially because if you do it too fast, you end up clicking things and then dashing forward when you don't want to. You might miss an ability, and it just gets difficult. That's really all it is. There's nothing much that makes Susano harder other than that. Susano's not a hard god, like I said. He's got a nice pull. He's got that Jetstream that'll do some bleed damage and also allow you to teleport after a little while, like so. And of course, he's got that AoE ult that you can control wherever you want it to go with a knockup. It's just the auto attack cancellation. Susano isn't a hard god to play, but if you want to master him and truly master him, you gotta master auto attack cancellation, and it's just not the easiest thing to do. On to number 1. I'm sure you all already know what it is. It's not going to be a big surprise.
Prepare to pilfer.
Yes, that is right. Loki is number 1. I'm kidding. No. Number 1, of course, the real number 1 is Tyr, obviously. Tyr is not only, I would say, the hardest god for people to play in Smite. He's the hardest god to master. He's just the hardest god. People who master Tyr still mess up. And it's not because there's something complicated with it. It's just because Tyr's not that easy to play. And if you want to, again, master him, you are pretty much required to get Blink, and that's just not easy to do with Tyr. Basically, if you don't know what Tyr is, I'll bring up his abilities right here. He is a stance changer, but he changes stances with his 3, so he actually does have an ultimate. But his stance changes on a cooldown. It's not instant like someone like Allure's. His defensive stance like this, you're not going to be worried too much about. His dash just goes straight through people and does damage. His 2 does damage like that, but it also heals him up. So his 2 is used for a heal. His ultimate makes him CC immune. You could use it as damage. You could use it as a getaway. You could use it to stop an Ares ult, whatever you want. It pretty self-explanatory. You just leap. That's really all it is. But what makes Tyr the hardest god not only to play, but to master is his combo. And it's this. You've seen it. You've been hit by it. You know what it is. It's that. And you're like, that is so easy. What are you talking about? Shh. No, it's not. It's hard because everybody knows it's coming. When you're sitting there and you're like this. You're sizing them up, right? You're going to get them. They know it. So they're waiting for you to mess up. And when you do, they're going to counter it. Because his Deathbringer, or not his Deathbringer, sorry, his Fearless is relatively slow. And it's just slow and clunky. Now, obviously, if you get hit by it, you're screwed. But the problem is actually hitting it. I know what I'm showing you right now probably doesn't look like he's that hard to master because I'm just hitting a standing still Odin bot. But you can easily mess that up. When you go this way, I mean, you can bring him all the way here, switch it up. That was supposed to go farther out, but you can do some serious damage with Tyr, and when you master him, he's deadly. The problem is actually mastering him. That Fearless Cleave combo is really, really hard to hit. Not only is it hard to hit, let's say you're in lane and you go to hit the enemy god and you completely whiff on both abilities. Well, not only did you not do anything to him, you didn't clear the lane. Not only that, you're Tyr, so go ahead and try to switch your defensive stance and clear lane with that, because it's not going to happen. But, again, another thing that makes him super, super hard to master is, I mentioned, you almost have to get blink. And that's because the thing is, to blink behind, I messed up. I'm in jungle practice, and I messed up. I thought I was behind the Odin for the blink, and I wasn't. That just shows you how difficult it can be. Obviously, everything's not going to be like that. I couldn't see where he was at. I was kind of guessing. Let's actually get a good look. Basically, what the blink would be is usually you want to blink behind him. And when you do that, blink behind him, you got a 360 or 180 real quick, and then hit the Fearless Cleave combo. And that's just not an easy thing to do until you play Tyr over and over and over and over, and you've blink Fearless Cleaved so much that it becomes second nature. But at that point, you've mastered him. Which goes back to the whole point of this video, which makes, in my opinion, Tyr the most difficult god to master in Smite. I have played him numerous times and I still mess up. I don't even play Tyr anymore because I can't hit the combo and I know I'm just gonna ruin it for my team. So I've just given up on Tyr. That's why he's my #1. You guys let me know in the comments what you think are the hardest gods to master. Again, not the hardest gods to play, but to master to their full potential. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe for more content like this. And until next time, peace.